Taliban's caused 9/11. But they hate ISIS.
We're here with Professor Paul on the fundamental theorem of Minnesota labor. Let's take a guess. Exploitation, racketeering, just generally unpleasant working environments, mean, nasty people who are fake nice. What are we going with here? What's the flavor? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Not no Fortune 500, just enough to get by.
You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. Do 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 do. You got a friend in me.
Baby, get a Nintendo and a new necktie. I need a girl.
Oh Lord.
I need a girl.
And then Paul needs a girl.
Ain't asking big for them. Not no PhD mind. Just a simple specimen.
You're living here for free, Paul. So you're going to do the sidewalk and you're going to shovel out the snow to your neighbors too. Like, you're living here for free.
Do just fine. I need a vacation.
Uh-oh, he's all worked up. If there is work that needs to be done and you are being paid to do that work, but you do nothing at all instead except collect your paycheck, then eventually someone with a work ethic will do your job for you, without being paid and or at their own expense.
When I shoveled that snow outside the hotel and my shovel broke at their own expense, so I had to stop. As soon as I came in, the maintenance man came to the door with his shovel to shovel snow. And he's a really nice guy, and he's disabled. So I'm glad I could help. He didn't have to do that, and that's A-okay with me.
But what's the but? Is there a but? Is this disabled maintenance man gonna like catch some shade here? He's gonna catch some flack for some reason?
But the fundamental theorem of Minnesota labor applies generally throughout Minnesota. Look at where I worked. This was a very good office with very good people, generally. As good as it can get, if you take away New Jersey's management of American Musical Supply. Metro Min there in Eden Prairie was a great place to work, but...
Look, I'm sorry, but if your stomach is so fat that I have to physically lift your stomach up to find your vagina.
And someone else is going to answer all those calls. And someone else did.
Well, aren't you the fool? Aren't you the moron?
And even though being homeless, I made sure for 7 years while I worked there, most of the time, overtime, it might only be 15 minutes a week, it could be several hours. While doing that, because I was homeless, I made absolutely, positively certain I never did anything that could conceivably get me fired from that job, which was my lifeline. And yet, American Musical Supply fired me. Without even speaking to me, without accusing me of doing anything wrong, without providing any reason. And did I mention, they never even spoke to me. I had been there for 7 years. I walk in one day, the door's locked. A week later,
Yeah, I think you like gave enough rope to hang yourself because like they asked for a written statement about you didn't know what it was. And then you like supply them with like material and evidence to what you thought you didn't do, which probably confirmed that you did indeed do it.
I'm just fired. Don't even know the names of the people who did it to me 1,200 miles away.
You're fired.
But those people who would walk around doing nothing, who would avoid calls, who would spend maybe 4, 6, 8 minutes while I'm trying to transfer a call to, say, technical support, and they just don't feel like taking phone calls. So they'll take 4, 6, 8 minutes of that person.
Yeah, like imagine you're speeding on the highway and you're going like 40 over in a school zone, and then the cop pulls you over and you go, well, look, other people speed too, and I've never been caught speeding before, and this is my first time, so officer, look the other way. Don't worry about it, because I've been such a good, like, impeccable driver. No, don't worry about like what I've done now. Just focus on the fact that I've never done it before. That doesn't wash, Paul. It does not wash. You need to kind of come away from this conclusion because it just goes nowhere.
On hold while they ask me questions instead of asking the customer questions to evaluate whether or not they think they can handle the call. Instead of me just transferring it to them making that determination and telling the customer, yeah, I can help you, or I'm sorry, this doesn't fall under our purvey. Meanwhile, I would be answering the calls I'm supposed to instead of watching.
Yeah, well, you made it clear to whoever's working there that you were the real like donkey. You were the mule working harder than everyone else. So like, if you do have piss takers and people who don't want to do their job, yeah, they're gonna probably like foist it on you and know that they can get away with it while they go out the back and do cocaine.
Them accumulate on the board. While those people do nothing. Those people kept their jobs. Those people got to continue earning a living. Those people are not suffering the way I have for the last year. And I'll bet you they're still there. The fundamental theorem of Minnesota labor. If there's work that needs to be done and you are being paid to do that work, but you do nothing at all instead except collect your paycheck, then eventually somebody with a work ethic will do your job for you without being paid for your work and or at their own expense. I can't help but think about how different the worldviews are between myself and social services who put me in this hotel. And again, I want to make it very clear how grateful I am to be in that hotel, to have.
And I'm sorry, but if you're a dude and you're dating a chick who's transgender,
that really underlines it, doesn't it, Paul? You're sincerely grateful, and you'll have to, you have to get captions on to make sure they're aware that you're very, very, very thankful, but with a few caveats.
Some food delivered every week. I want to make it clear how grateful I am.
that's just it. I'm not trying to be a dick.
My worldview, raised by my family, is one of priorities. What takes priority and precedence?
Certainly not financial priorities, Paul. Like, think about how much money you pissed away in just like ridiculous. You started hoarding cheap equipment and stuff you would win and get from like vendors from AMS, and threw it all into storage. You paid like an exorbitant amount of money to upkeep these storage lockers, and it's you were meant to have, like, if you were truly had your priorities straight, if you couldn't get another job, at least you would have a little bit of rainy day savings to make sure that you could weather the storm. I don't think you even had $1 to your name. You started selling off stuff immediately.
Over even my comfort are things like virtue, justice, doing the right thing, ensuring that the right thing is done, fighting against the wrong thing.
Yeah, I mean, you are hard-headed about, and like you do have these beliefs, but they're completely like backwards.
If you lay it down as good versus evil, I'm on the side of good.
Mm-hmm.
Social services worldview is that if you have worked at a job for 7 years and you outperformed everybody there, including people who are 1/3 your age, and you did their job for them while they got paid, you didn't get paid extra for that. They got paid for doing nothing.
This is all redundant. It's a redundant point.
And you are praised by your coworkers, both your active coworkers and the ones who are leaving, who take the time before they leave the company and come over and talk to me and tell me they appreciate the example I set in the office, which happened twice. And that's pretty impressive for young people to come over and say that to me. Others leaving gifts, leaving notes, things like that. Supervisors, getting cards from supervisors saying how much they appreciate the work I do. My manager, great guy. He really appreciated having a rock he could build a call center on, and at least.
Is that the same manager that you were like getting pissy about? He only dropped him off to. He used to walk in the snow and the sleet and the summer. Like had bugs and shit and locusts hitting him in the face, but this guy only ever picked him up once, and he kind of like resented that fact. He wanted to be picked up all the time.
1, 2, 3, some of us who he just didn't have to worry about, made his job a lot easier. Vendors got flown over to PRS to take their tour when I'm not even a salesperson, for winning the sales contest. Staying after training, talking to all of the vendors, whoever they are.
So that's like one inconsistency in the story is, if AMS hated homeless people and hated Paul because he was homeless, why in the hell did they fly him out to a vendor to do like a, all expenses paid, tour of this guitar manufacturing place? Like, why would they do that if they hated you, Paul, and they had nothing but ill will against you and wanted to fire you eventually? What was the point of that? Was it like maybe they wanted to see if the plane would go down in a fiery wreck and they'd be done with you? They'd be like, oh, well, that was a long shot, but it worked out.
Gibson, Fender, Presonus, Mackie, QSC, whoever, asking deep questions, learning things, getting resources, and providing them with my business experience.
You just wanted free stuff, you shitbag.
And my podcasting experience, my online experience. Here's how you can help marketing. There's this huge group you're not marketing to at all, giving them recommendations. They appreciated that. I didn't see my coworkers doing that.
Yeah, the AMS YouTube channel, like, I didn't really have much thoughts about it going in, because I looked at their website early on, and it's a like shit. It's crap. It looks like it's stuck in the early new millennium. And I was starting to look at their like YouTube page just to see what it was like, and it's actually very, very professionally done, and they've got a lot of content, like equipment reviews, podcasts, like sit-down interviews with the vendors and the manufacturers. And I don't know what you were recommending, Paul, outside of like a podcast. Yeah, I don't know if that was a winner.
They would offer a suggestion once in a while, to the best of their ability. They weren't trying to neglect that, but they didn't have the life experience I had. They didn't have that kind of experience that's so relevant. Performance reviews.
Also, he's in the call center, so he's not really in the kind of main New Jersey like hub of where their main establishment is. So he's trying to promote and market in ways that, you know, it's just a call center in the middle America, basically.
In my performance, I believe it was my last performance review, which would have been 2023. I was due for a performance review right when they fired me. Remember? And my first anniversary bonus, which I never got. The person who had been there the longest is the one person who didn't even get an anniversary bonus. That's the kind of company you're dealing with American Musical Supply.
I wonder if she got his bonus, like directly got his bonus because of all the bullshit he put her through. I wonder.
Yourself a perfect score or an almost perfect score, even if you have earned it through hard and honest work. So I had to ding myself on something, and I chose to ding myself on teamwork. And when I met with my manager, and I said, since I have to ding myself on something, I'm dinging on teamwork, but I want to make it clear, it isn't because I know nothing about teams. I've lectured.
Oh, he's completely like resentful that he wanted to give himself 10 out of 10, but he had to give himself 9.9. So eating him up inside.
Business people on how to form and manage teams. I've been part of truly world-class teams, not the ones who just put world-class on a sign on the wall, but are world-class, remember? 6th in the world, our drum corps took.
Who? Give me top 5. What are the top 5 big businesses that you've worked for?
I was really young then, and it only got better. I know about teamwork. The problem is American Musical Supply does not allow teamwork. They don't even allow.
So you were just in a drum corps or something like that. You were going at the halftime show, and you were in a world-class team. Okay.
People to talk to each other. What are you doing talking to someone in another department? So I told him I'm dinging myself on teamwork, but not because of.
What were you doing talking to someone in a different department? Why were you like wasting so much time like seeking these people out?
To respect the value of teamwork for a successful company. And he said, understood. And that was the end of that.
Yeah, great feedback there. Yeah, it was just a slacker job. There wasn't much motivation to do anything, and yeah, there wasn't a particular focus on quality and actually doing your job in a meaningful way. It was just, you know, it's a whatever. You took it very seriously though, Paul.
Customers constantly asking, how can I, let me talk to a supervisor. I want to praise you for what you just did. How do I contact? You have a survey system after this call.
He's only really got one example of this that seemed to be of any substance, because they emailed someone in the company, and they kind of like made sure Paul knew about it, and he was very, very pleased with it, and he like framed it or printed it out or something like that.
Call, which we never did, because American Musical Supply didn't care about evaluating what kind of job we did. So I'm getting praised every which way to Sunday for 7 years, working overtime, and in the last 13 months, walking to work with a hernia at my age, at night in the dark with all those coyotes, with the locust smacking my face in the heat of the summer, in that last stretch, and in the winter, since the Minnesota...
Is there Minnesota Timberwolves? Because I know I remember the basketball team, but are there actually Timberwolves in and around the area? Because coyotes are like kind of whatever. They might like gnaw on you.
Department of Transportation refuses to plow pedestrian walkways. I had to walk in the road on those slippery roads with these maniacs who terrify me even when I'm driving a car. It was one winter, 2 summers. But it was...
Yeah, the one time I stayed in Texas, I quickly came to the realization that America is not set up to be like, if you're a pedestrian, like it's definitely not the country for you. You will be walking a long time to get anywhere, and usually there's no like actual pathways. You just have to like hop the curb and just like skirt around traffic.
It was a bad winter. It wasn't the winter when I got fired when it was no winter. It was a bad one. It was like this all the time. You do that for 7 years. You do a fantastic job, and your reward when some lying, manipulative person who you asked for your help and showed respect for them, you granted them that dignity, that respect. You're a third my age, yet I am going to offer you this opportunity. If you don't want it, no problem. Understood. She said she was okay with it. But instead, what happened? She ends up filing some harassment claim or some kind of claim. I still don't even know what it was. I don't even know if it's a harassment claim.
You know what it was, Paul. You it's like that child, like if you've ever had a kid or something like that, and like they get into like a chocolate cake mix or something, and they've got it all over their face that is like in blackface basically from all the chocolate, and their little eyes are like blinking, and you see the whites of their eyes, and they go to them, did you eat this cake? Did you eat the cake mix, Sonny Jin? And they're like,
No, I didn't do that. I was the dog.
I don't know what it is. Nobody ever told me what it was.
oh,
Instead of
shut
talking to me after
up.
7 years, they just locked me out of the building, knowing, because I told them repeatedly and in different ways, that this would be the outcome. The loss of everything, not just that I earned over those...
feel like, yeah, I understand the reason why he turns off his comments. Is like this is Paul basically being able to be the judge, jury, and executioner of his own trial. You know, and he's going to find himself not guilty every single time. But if you put on comments or any pushback against the narrative, it's just chaotic for him.
7 years in American musical supply, but for the half century before that, the loss of absolutely everything, because that is what happened 9 years ago. This wasn't speculation. This wasn't theory. This was based on what happened in the real world the last time I was in that situation. And it has repeated itself, only this time it's worse. Because Minnesota has not gotten better in 10 years, they've gotten worse. Social services has not gotten better in 10 years, they've gotten worse. And when I was going out, and that miracle happened as I was leaving town to go in my car and drive till I ran out of gas and just die in the wilderness, I could drive that car legally. I can't do that anymore. I don't have a car anymore. I have a car that I paid for, that I worked for 13 months, walking to work to pay for this car, but it's a brick. It's dead. In social services worldview, after you go through all of that, and your employer, who knows that they're stealing everything you had to remember your family by, everything you've done with your entire life, that you are going to experience suffering on a Holocaust scale for however long it does take, and I had no idea. I'm shocked it's taken this long, but we are at the end.
That is one of my favorite things when Paul like trots this one out is, oh, it's just been like, I can't take, like, I don't know why God is, putting me through this, and I'm surviving so long, and I would have thought I'd be gone by now, but for some miracle I'm still here. Such a mystery. But we're at the end. It is the end. Like, how long have you been trotting this one out for, Paul? Like, it has no, it has no credibility. Like, when people hear that, it's just a meme.
I don't have a crystal ball to tell me how long I'm going to make it. God has sustained me for some reason for this long, but it's not going to go on forever. In fact, it's not going to go on for much longer. My social services worldview, all that I went through, getting stabbed in the...
Yeah, I think the running gag is basically, you can't tell when, but it's coming. It's coming very soon. That's all he knows. And then he can keep moving it back. It's like, it's kind of close. It's sooner rather than later.
In the back by the people I cared about and loved the most, the people I considered my surrogate family. And I have to deal with that trauma. And just one loss after another after...
Yeah, when he says he lost his family, that's what he means. That's the surrogate family. I lost my family. That's what he means.
Another, as all those pawn receipts accumulate, and I have to lose and give away everything else, and the car becomes a total loss that I have to just abandon. And I go through all of that, and through the whole process, not one person, not one professional in the state of Minnesota will look at this for what it obviously is, a hate crime. This isn't about terminating somebody. It's about using their power to terminate people with no reason, employment at will, as a weapon to cause this harm to this person.
I think if you made one video, just one video addressing this whole situation, and you had a lot of passion, you stated your case the best you could, but I think because you've made like 100 odd videos on this topic, and you've injected and inserted a million different narratives, nothing's like concise, nothing is particularly like linear, everything's contradictory, everything like is questionable now. There's no case you could possibly make about the firing situation that would have anyone believe it. You just needed one video and leave it at that, and people can make up their minds. You can withhold all the information you want. You would have probably done that. But if you had that one video with a fairly linear chronological order of events, and without all the flair and the fluff and Holocaust level third world torture, they're setting me on fire with and then like it's nuclear fire because you've been hit by a H-bomb. There might be people who actually would be willing to listen to you, Paul, but it's too far gone now. You need to like start over and do it again.
That is an attack. As surely as if they walked up, oh, I'm sorry, my thumb doesn't work from sleeping in the car where the nerves busted.
Oh, no.
As if they just shot me in the head.
So he can't even do the fake gun trigger anymore because his thumb is all messed up. He can't even fake shoot himself anymore, AMS. You scumbags.
According to social services worldview, that shouldn't bother me at all, because they say...
No, you're very thankful to social services, remember? We're thankful again. Or are we dissing them? What's going on here?
Just start over. When I lost my home 10 years ago...
Well, what else can you do? Well, I know what you want. You want everything... You want a back to the future moment. You want to go back in time and just fix the past, then come to the future, and everything's fine.
Because my neighbors became so violent and loud and shaking the whole place, yelling and screaming, playing that loud music, just making my home a nightmare place to be. I went everywhere. I went to the landlord who wrote the lease. He wrote the lease, not me. He wrote it, that huge paragraph about not doing that to your neighbors. But he wouldn't enforce it. He blamed me instead because noise bothered me. And if I showed him academic journals like one called, Noise and Health, for example, it meant nothing to him because that involved him doing his job that he accepts a paycheck for. He enforced the other part of the lease instead, the part where I had to pay him every month, which I...
Yeah, I'm completely... I used to be very sympathetic to this story and like actually would probably like go with it all the way. And now I'm like, he had a music studio set up, so it calls things into question for me because, like, what's to say he wasn't like slamming the drums at like some ungodly hour and they've like responded with like in kind with their own sort of bullshit, and he couldn't take their noise, but he expected them to take all the like music, all the jams and stuff like that. Yeah, something about it now is just like, yeah, I probably don't believe this story at all, which is odd because he had me hook, line, and sinker with it, but now I'm thinking, yeah, it's not all to the story.
I did the whole time I lived there, right on time. I paid to improve his property at my expense. I did all kinds of things. I was a model tenant. I tiptoe across my rooms. Even as these neighbors were doing this to me, I would go out and shovel the snow, a path from the door to their car, the people who were torturing me. And this guy couldn't stand up for me and do his job. All the way through the police, who said, why don't you just move? Why don't you just move the victim? Because we don't want to do our job, the one we accept a paycheck for, since they're breaking the law. And it just went like that all the way up to the governor's office, which was Dayton at that time, the attorney general's office, and all the agencies in between. All the tenant landlord agencies that get government funding. The sum total of what they did for me was nothing. And yet all of them collected their paychecks.
So stop emailing these people. Stop getting involved with all these, government level bureaucracy, Paul, because clearly they don't care what you have to say. So you're sending these emails into the void. They'll never get back to you. They'll never do anything about it. You've already confirmed this. So why do you try so hard?
Lazy bums. This time around, 10 years later, the exact same thing. You have a hate crime exploiting a loophole in the law in order to cause this much harm and death to another human being. Someone who didn't deserve this. I did nothing wrong in that workplace, and I did everything right. And if they had any questions about anything I did do, you just have to sit down and talk to me like a grown, mature, professional adult, and we'll figure it out. It's that easy, but they never did it.
He just wants to figure it out. Like, he wants to make the issue go away. Like, hand wave it away. It was never going to happen, Paul. His ideal scenario is that they just sit down in a room, there's a mediator between them, and they talk it through, talk about the gift, talk about, oh, well, I was mistaken that I thought you had a drug issue. I had some, like, your body language and your behavior was not really in keeping with how you used to be, so I inferred that you had a drug problem. I'm sorry about that. That was my mistake, and I'm also sorry for all the 3D lewds I did of you.
Social services worldview says, just start over. One reason I have not wanted to get another home in Minnesota since then, and my plan has always been working my way out with the music studio and getting out of Minnesota where I get that home. And you know what? With this job, I could have done it. They did have some people who had moved to other states. And
dude, you were fucking flat broke straight away. Like, what the hell, Paul? Like, really? If you're all right, let's think about it for a second. Like, if you wanted to do it in 2 years, surely you would have already had enough savings to maintain a lifestyle that's better than this car, or it would have like lasted longer than, like, because he's out of money. He's completely out of cash. He's drained everything. But if we were to believe this story that he was like very close to turning it around, surely he would have had like 10K, 20K nested away. He's not paying any like property tax. He's not paying anything. Like, he lives for free inside the car. Like, there's no tax on that. So you would think that he would have money put away, but no, he never had money put away because he was just constantly spending money on cheap shit to put in the storage locker, and he never had and then he had to sell it all, and by his like estimation, it was going to be very lucrative to pawn all this stuff off. And it turns out it was worth nothing. All this stuff and all this equipment was just junk.
And since you can do this job online, I could have actually done the same job from another state. The reason I refused to get another apartment is because all the time I asked those people to do the job they collect a paycheck for, they said no. And the police said, why don't you, the victim, just move away? In other words, why don't you just pack up everything, change your address, screw up your credit report, screw up everything, disrupt your entire life, you move somewhere else when you have this wonderful, otherwise wonderful apartment that is cheap. $600 a month and $20 for utilities. $620 a month. You go move somewhere else, which will probably cost you roughly twice that.
Oh no. All right. So this story is now falling apart. He was in the ghetto. Like, was he in some ghetto apartment block? Sounds like it. Sounds like he moved somewhere that was really, really damn cheap, but also like, full of undesirables, people he wouldn't really want to associate. So he gambled. Like, I could today pick up all my stuff and move to a bad part of town and like possibly get a cheap room somewhere. But I have every understanding and like perception that it's probably going to be a rough go. I'm going to probably end up in a part of town I don't want to be in, and it's going to probably be, you know, a bit of a traumatic experience. But I have made the choices in my life where I'm not in that position anymore. Like I in a younger time, like when I was a young man, I was in a few dodgy, sketchy areas, but it was like by necessity, and I knew it, and I had to like put up with it. But here, Paul is obviously cheaped out, ended up in a tower block somewhere, and as he just said right then, he's like, I had the opportunity, but it would have cost me more. Yeah, okay. All right, that's interesting.
$1,200 a month for the same thing. And because we don't do our jobs, you can be right back in that situation again with a bunch of loud abusive neighbors who are breaking their lease and breaking the law. And once again, we're not going to do a damn thing about it because we, the police, are a bunch of lazy bums. We're too busy out harassing homeless people, telling them they can't drive their car safely, more safely than anyone out there. We're tailgating them. That's what we're doing, the police. That's why I did not want to get another place in Minnesota over these 10 years, because I'll end up in the exact same place with these passive-aggressive people. My plan was to get out of Minnesota in a position of strength. In the same way, anybody like social services who thinks I'm going to start, even if I could, which I can't, and let's make that clear, it is not legal. There are way too many obstacles. It can't be done.
Yeah, obstacles by your, like, you put the obstacles in front of yourself, Paul. You put all these hurdles and, like, you know, mouse traps and, you know, pitfalls by your own hand. No one put it in front of you. You did this. He's just, like, set it up on the racetrack. It's like, you know, if you ever watched that show from Japan, was it like Takeshi's Castle? Like, it's an obstacle course. And there might be a samurai, like, with a fake sword trying to hunt you down.
Missing teeth, the lazy eye, the intestinal hernia, all these things, my age discrimination. Remember what Human Resources says, be sure not to leave direct...
Why does he throw that in? It's the stuff he throws in on his descriptions. Like, that is part of the discrimination because he's got a lazy eye and missing teeth. Yeah.
Evidence of discrimination. Not, don't discriminate, but be sure not to leave direct evidence of discrimination when you're discriminating. Because you don't like old employees, or you don't like homeless employees, or you don't...
What was that? Like, is this like some sort of doctrine? Is this like part of the HR handbook? Don't leave the evidence behind. Is he quoting from something here? Or is he just making it up?
Don't like male employees, or whatever, or black, or Christian, or whatever. Social services doesn't understand why I'm not super enthused, even if somehow I could get a job, which I can't, but if I could, why I would not want to start over, work another 7 years.
The same abuse is a dangerous cult to Minnesota Nice. So it's just like, you know, he's got an out at every level. Like anything you think you can pin Paul down on and like really kind of like put the nail on him, he'll just squirm out of it. So it's Minnesota Nice. It's illegal. It's you know, they don't like me because of my lazy eye. It's just like, this is not someone who actually is wanting to engage with these services with any like good faith.
And then have the exact same thing happen to me. The door locked on me out of clear blue sky because that place finds out I'm homeless, and they don't like homeless people either because in all these years, nobody did anything about the root cause of the problem, the fundamental problem, which is that Eden Prairie Police refused to prosecute American Musical Supply for a capital crime. Now, it may not be in Minnesota, I don't know about New Jersey, but federally, murder can be a capital crime. That's how serious it should be. To them, it was so serious that they did nothing except collect their paychecks, which I presume they are still doing today, a year.
Slowest murder ever. Like, it's, if we were to rate AMS on their murder proficiency, it's just like a 0. That's shit.
Year later. Social services worldview says that in that environment, where I can go work again for another 7 years for some company and have everything taken away from me at the end because no one ever fixed the loopholes in the law that allowed it to happen.
I thought you didn't have a crystal ball. Like, so you're already, like, arriving at a conclusion that you don't know is true. If something happened, I'm pushing 70 years old, so, yeah. He wants to give up.
The first time, I'm the problem because I don't want to fall for that trick. Because I don't want to go up to Lucy holding the football and expect her to hold it this time for sure. Corollary number 1.
So what do you want to do, Paul? Like, what's the end goal? Like, you want to possibly just be retired. Like, you want a state pension that's probably going to be a bit more lucrative than the normal pension. You want a place to stay, probably a detached apartment or house that's like, and maybe not even in the state. He wants to go to another state and have them put him up with possible, like, the idea of maybe installing a musical studio in there with a green screen for his dumb skits. What is the end? Like, what is the end goal? If you can't work again and you'll never work again, what is the end game? Because it's not really clear to me. Because you say you want to work, but you don't want to work in Minnesota. Like, Minnesota's out, so let's stop talking about working in Minnesota. You need to go through this, Paul. Like, what is the end game? What are your demands? What does this terrorist want?
To the fundamental theorem of Minnesota labor. If the work in question is, quote, professional assistance that is necessary for the establishment of justice specifically, for example, it concerns right versus wrong, then the work will not get done at all. Yet, the professionals who are responsible for doing that work will still get paid. That is corollary number 1 to the fundamental theorem of Minnesota labor. And that is exactly what I just described to you. 2 examples from my life in 18 years in one state.
They didn't plow the sidewalk once. One very, very bad winter they didn't do it.
They never addressed the fundamental problem of those neighbors who made my home a torture chamber. They blamed the victim. They never did anything about American Musical Supply, who mortally attacked one of their very best, most loyal, most faithful.
Did you ever go over and like knock on the door and like bring around maybe a case of beer and a pizza and say, hey, I really want to talk to you about a few things. Have you got some time? Do you want to like chill out, kick back with a few brewskis, have some pizza and talk this through? Like, you got to kill them with kindness, Paul. Like, I know it's not a good situation, and I don't know if I believe everything about this story, but sometimes that works.
Faithful, solid employees. They never did anything about it. And they expect me to go put myself in that position again. Do you now understand why Charles Schultz from Minneapolis, when he made the Peanuts comic strip, he came up with that idea of Lucy holding the football and taking it away every single time she has promised Charlie Brown that she will hold it for him?
Yeah, I think this is what we need, Paul. It's like, enough of the bullshit, right? You've done all the preamble. You've stated your case. What is the end result? What do you now need? Not from Minnesota, but whatever state you want to be in. Let's just say tomorrow you could be halfway across the country in a state of your choosing. Any state you want. Doesn't matter. What would you want from the state? What would you need from them in order to make you happy? And would you work again? Is that possible? Or do you just want, like, to effectively retire?
How stupid would I have to be to fall for that trick again? I mentioned when
Line.
I walked to work for 13 months, and in that winter, it was a bad, bad, bad winter.
And a hot, hot summer. He always says that.
One of the worst ones we've had in recent years. Not like last year where it was dry. It wasn't even winter. It skipped winter. Minnesota Department of Transportation and whatever rules they have with businesses or municipalities, cities being responsible for plowing pedestrian walkways, they don't do it. So the whole winter, all that sludge and ice and big moon rocks are just blown and stacked up and compressed right on the side.
It's funny, like, I have a video of him being absolutely irritated by this plow guy who's trying to plow. He's trying to do his damn job, but he was like endlessly bitching, thought he was a stalker, and he was getting too close. You can't win with Paul. Like, there's no winning. You can't win.
To me, is harassment. This freezing cold place where I am. And just, folks, I don't even know what to do with this. I don't even know what to do. Look at this. I gotta go. I gotta go. I'm being stalked.
They do their job, it's harassment. They don't do their job, it's incompetence. It's, you can't win. Can't possibly win.
Sidewalk where pedestrians have to walk. Pedestrians like the 57-year-old guy with a hernia. And the web toes from sleeping in the car for all these years.
And the disabled car.
Somewhere, I've got tons of film of what that looked like.
Somewhere. Where is it?
You see, pedestrians, generally speaking, are going to be associated with poor people. People of means are going to be associated with people
It's just the man in the car.
driving cars.
Oh, he's a pedestrian now. I guess he's been demoted. He's now living the life of a pedestrian, and it's not a great life in a pretty like bad winter, I suppose. So I guess he never really gave it much thought until he was in this position, but now he's in this position. He is now just a lowly pedestrian, a poor pedestrian. Whatever, dickhead.
State of Minnesota doesn't have a lot of respect for poor people. They're to be abused. They go to work and do their job. They enslave themselves to social services and get a job at Walmart or lifting boxes all day or something like that. And they pay their taxes to pay for this government, which then turns around and does nothing to help them except create.
Yeah, there's plenty of people that have been around him who are just like walking, shambling around, trying to get from A to B. And he's had nothing but contempt. He's just thinking they're harassers and stalkers and malcontents. But they're just pedestrians walking around because they don't have cars. They must
Create a social service racket that keeps social services prosperous. Not the people it claims to help. This winter, the snow that you just saw me shoveling, Burnsville, sidewalks that poor people walk on, people who don't have cars. all the sludge, ice, big moon rocks, just blown from the road so that the drivers can have it. And the drivers don't need clear roads. All they have to do is drive more slowly and safely, and they can still get where they're going safely.
Oh my god, that is so not true. There's no one in Minnesota that would like sign off on that. It's like all the sleet and snow on the rain and the slush. Don't worry about it. Just drive slow. It'll all work out, bro. Trust Paul B on it. You're fucking kidding me, yeah.
Safely and warm. They just have to drive more safely. They have to be adults. They have to be responsible. Something
Oh
that
my
Minnesotans are
God.
known for doing. Minnesota nice. So they take all that and they clear the roads.
Imagine you are living in Paul's world. Like how much like misery and this pure like catastrophe, chaos, death would reign over this world if this was a world of Paul's creation.
So that those people have a nice, comfortable place to travel, and they bury the pedestrian walkways under 3-4 feet, 2-3-4 feet of the wettest, thickest snow in the world. Here's what the sidewalk looks like that I walk when I have to walk down to the library or wherever. That's about a mile and a half away. I just got through walking through that. Why? To get a cup of coffee. It normally takes 20 minutes to get there, 20 minutes to get back. This took 45 minutes.
Surely you can get a cup of coffee like in this hotel thing you're in. Like surely they have a coffee machine. Surely. Or is it you want to go up and talk to Milo? Do you want to mac on Milo? Is that it? You're doing the journey for that.
To get there, 45 minutes to get back. When I got back, my shoes and socks were absolutely soaked and cold.
Also, like, fucking forego the coffee. Like, go, all right, it sucks. I want my damn coffee. I want my, mocha choco, latte, pumpkin spice coffee. That was probably given to me for free by likely someone like Milo. Probably Milo who's doing this. All right, it's too cold. It's too wet. It's going to be miserable. Let's just skip the coffee for today. And also, where's the coffee from the housemaid? She gave him like a satchel, like a big one, like I don't know how many grams, but it was enough to keep him going for a while. I'm guessing he's not touching it for some reason. Yeah. Why are you walking in loafers? Like, there's no way you need boots, dude. Get like next time they do a clothes run for you, Paul, you need to ask for boots in your size that you can probably like strap up the top and make sure they're like watertight. I don't know what I think they call them gum boots or like Wellingtons. I don't know what they call them in America though. Oh, whoa, damn.
My skin was flaking off.
Yeah, like if you're making decisions like this, Paul, I don't care. Like if you're just walking around in loafers through like sleet and snow, of course they're gonna get wet.
Because here in Burnsville, they don't clear off pedestrian pathways any more than they do anywhere else in Minnesota. Who cares? It's only poor people. They can walk in the road. They can put their lives in danger. That's what the police would probably.
Has he ever like made comment about this? Like, has he ever like actually felt like he's ever really made a stance for pedestrians and what they have to go through outside of like when he's going through it? So when he's driving the car and he's kicking around, it's fine. But when he's like actually out experiencing this, it's a problem. All of a sudden, he's a big pedestrian advocate. He wants like one of those closed, smart cities where you don't have to walk much to get anything.
They say, isn't it? The public safety officers who don't let me drive my car. If I could have driven my car down there, guess how long it would have taken? About 1 minute to get there and 1 minute to get back. If there's no lights. If there's lights, 3 minutes.
Oh, the car's dead now. So what can you do?
But I can't drive the car. So I, with a hernia at my age, had to walk through all of that for this wonderful reward. Corollary number 2 to the fundamental theorem of Minnesota labor. If the work in question is essential to the survival and or prosperity of poor citizens, specifically, example, homeless citizens, then the work will not get done at all. Yet, the workers who are responsible for doing that work will still get paid. I just trudged.
Fucking fascinating.
People responsible for clearing those pedestrian pathways did nothing whatsoever, and they're getting paid. I had to trade something that I worked.
It's like in Australia, there are people out there who will be not very mentally well or so drug addicted that they're not really thinking about the clothes they're wearing. And they're out in like 45-degree heat. Like it's just stinking hot. And they're like layered up. They've got a big like North Face bomber jacket and they're just completely zipped up. And they're thinking like, what is going on with this person that they're making such an irrational decision by wearing all this? And it's the same thing with Paul. He's like making this really bad decision to go out in the sleet and the snow in these like, loafer slipper things.
Earn an American Musical supply to get this cup of coffee because I have no money and no way to get any money. And social services looks at me as if I'm the problem. As if
what happened to the coffee? The maid gave you coffee. I'm sure you have like some sort of like kettle or something to make the coffee. So where's the coffee grounds?
I'm supposed to accomplish anything in an environment like this. Not having a dollar of my own in the last 4 months. Having a dead car that I have to do something with, and I have no way to do it. I have no phone.
Oh, it's dead now, so it's not disabled anymore. It's like just dead. You can't even claim it. It's now a deceased car. I have a deceased car. Oh my god. Temporarily have a phone. I temporarily have phone access at the hotel, outgoing calls, but no text ability, which is far more useful, essential. Yeah, maybe. Example, I have 7 years worth of points accumulated on Super America reward cards worth 50 to 100, but without a phone number and a text ability, you cannot register that card and claim those rewards. Well, you probably need an address, Paul, which you don't have anymore. Cannot access my PayPal without a phone. So if you are pay picking him, doesn't seem to be working. He can't access it outside of like a phone, which I think is true. Maybe you can get on. No, surely you can get it on. There should be like a PC portal access that should be able to get through this. Without a phone text, I cannot use online resources to find a car buyer or someone to junk it for me. That's a call. Just call someone. Wait. You've got the computer and the screen's kind of broken, but all he needs is it to be inside and no lights glaring on the screen, and he should be fine. Right? That's what I understand it to be. To find it, I'm going to junk it for me. Possibly even begin to try arrange just one ride anywhere. Yeah, whatever. Huh. Can't he get asked for a concession card for a bus service? Is there not a bus service, or does he not want to ride the bus? I am a machine with too many broken, missing parts to function properly, and I have control over nothing anymore. AMS ruthlessly deprived me of my ability to remedy any of this. And all for what? Just to service the primitive hatred of simple mind. Oh, whatever.
I have no way to sell this or even give it away. To do the simplest thing, I have to, if the weather's this bad, walk through 2-3 feet
They'll take it away for you, Paul. They'll take it away for you.
of sludge. 45 minutes one way, 45 minutes the other way. An hour and a half to get this. Where if I had a little money, I could just make some coffee in the room, and there you go, you got a cup of coffee.
Well, you got a panhandle, dude. Get out, get on the road and like you can play guitar, strum a few songs outside of one of the big mega malls, and as he says, like there are people who fake, like there are people who hustle and you know they grift. Where like I'm homeless and I'm doing really badly at the moment. Spare me a few dollars outside of one of these big mega malls, and apparently they clean up. So maybe try that, Paul.
Because the housekeeper's wonderful coffee didn't last that long. Bless her heart.
Oh, you already went through it. How long has it been? Jesus Christ. Got a caffeine addiction, my friend.
Social services worldview makes no rational sense. Anyone who would tell somebody who is traumatized, anyone who would tell someone who just got out of Auschwitz.
Just remember, he is very thankful, though. He's very, very, very thankful.
Hey, we rescued you from Auschwitz. Here's some food.
What about Bergen-Belsen?
Here's a bed for, well, we're not really going to tell you for how long. We'll let that be a surprise. One day we'll come and knock in and tell you it's time to leave. But here's a bed. Here's some food.
Or if you keep pissing them off, that day's going to come sooner, Paul. He's pissing them off.
And here's our rule book. 13 pages of it. The rule book acknowledges that after the war, the Nazis are still in control of Germany. Tortured and tormented and murdered by these people for years in Auschwitz, you now have to go work for those Nazis. We'll make sure they don't kill you. They'll just exploit.
So yeah, the social services are now Nazis. Like, just so you know, like Brianna, anyone watching these videos, you are no better than, you know, Himmler and Goebbels and all that crew. Like you are tantamount to Nazis, and Paul is just your Mengele experiment.
Exploit you. And the rest of your life is going to be nothing but slavery to the same institution that destroyed you and your family in the first place. That's social services.
All a metaphor, of course. Like, don't get it twisted. It's just in a matter of speaking. Take it as a metaphor, like social services that are literally saving your ass.
Attitude, and they can't figure out why I want nothing to do with that, and why I'm spending my time instead pursuing what my parents raised me to pursue, which are higher order ideals.
No, it's just you're being thick-headed. Right or wrong, he'll do it his way, no matter what.
Virtues, justice, goodness. The greatest commandment and the second greatest commandment in the Bible. Love God, love thy neighbor.
So until all this is done, until all this checklist is done, And you better, oh, and much, much more. Well, then it's never ending. It's like, this will never, I don't think it'll get anything even close to done about any of this. So it's just like, until it's all done, there will be no rest for Paul V.
Can't figure that out. Their worldview is dangerous to people
Figure it out, bro.
like me. It can be deadly to people like me. It's what I experienced 10 years ago, and that's why I told American Musical Supply, if I lose this job, I'm a dead man. And if somebody is trying to get me to lose my job when I did nothing that deserves that, certainly doesn't deserve after 7 years with no disciplinary history, does not deserve to just be locked out on the basis of some complaint.
I am glad that he can't, like, possibly go to Eden Prairie anymore and hang out in their car park anymore. That is a relief, that the car is now dead. You can't just, like, saunter over there and weirdly look over at the building while she's probably still there. If anything, there is good coming out of this.
Against me that I was never even advised of, and I have no idea what this complaint even says. And they never talked to me, never accused me of doing anything wrong, never gave me a reason for it. That's inexcusable.
Try to speculate, like, just throw it out there in the world. Just like throw a few things out there that it could have been, and see what. But he never wants to say it. He just doesn't want to say it. Never wants to say anything about it. It's just that they fired him for no reason. Well, do you have anything in mind? Can you think of anything right now, Paul? You can get the gears going and give us a few examples of what you might think it is outside of homeless discrimination and lazy eyes.
And social services wants me to go into that again. But this time without a car, without money, without any of the possessions I had acquired over a 57-year life, and with nothing to remember my family by or my life by.
Thousands of in 2 states, each of which were gone. Total value incalculable, but likely hovering around $250,000. No. It's just, you can't calculate it because it has so much sentimental value. It's not worth $1 million, $250,000. Ain't no way in hell. He has like a Mad magazine collection or something. I wonder, like, he says he has a complete one. Complete Mad magazine collection. What is that going for these days? I think this is issue 40 through to 226. Conditions very good. 1,600. All right, so yeah, whatever, Paul. Like that, and you better make sure it's in a very good condition. This guy's doing it for 1,600. What is a complete? Like another 40 issues. All right, let's say it's $2,000 US. Yeah, no. What was that other thing he had? Various autographs by, you know, soap stars and TV stars of the day.
And they're wondering why I don't just jump out of the bunk at Auschwitz and go, all right, where are the Nazis? Let's get to work. They don't understand why I don't want to do that. Who is the mentally ill person here? Who is the mentally ill person here?
I wonder. Jeez. I don't know. Can't quite tell on that one, Paul. It's too hard to say.
Is it homeless people?
No, not really. Like most homeless people are far more rational than you. That's for damn sure.
And for all this pain and humiliation I have to deal with from every angle, including social services, what's the end result going to be? I'm still going to die a horrifying death.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. I used to always think this was some sort of Andy Kaufman routine. Like he's doing a character and he's delved into the character too deep and he can't quite dig himself out. I used to honestly believe, like, this can't be real, but he earnestly believes everything he's saying. Like, everything he's saying, he says it with, you know, real grit and real, like, authenticity. Like, everything he's saying, he is in this delusion. He is in this mass delusion of Minnesota Nice and the whole thing he sincerely believes. I want to say. All right, guys, that is another Paul. You know, the excuse tour goes on. Just the ingrate and ungrateful tour keeps rolling on from video to video. Oh my God! Someone call the police.